What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Chronos 68 from Syntech. They sent this out to me. This will not change my thoughts and opinions on this review, but let's get into it. First of all, let me show you the box. It's one of those two-piece boxes. You can pull this out, and then let's talk about what comes in the box. So you do get the keyboard. You get this cable that's plugged in, and you get this wrist rest. This is a nice touch. And then you do get 4 extra switches, and you get a keycap and switch puller with a brush, which is also a nice touch. I've never seen come in a keyboard. The features of this keyboard: this does support 8K polling rate. I'm not sure the exact scan rate. The adjustable actuation range is 0.1 millimeters to 3.5 millimeters. This also does support snap tap. But let's get into the case itself. So the case is full aluminum. I'll show you the bottom right here. So this case, even though it's full aluminum, it's really not premium. It doesn't feel premium to me. It does get like a little cold, but it doesn't get nearly as cold as other aluminum cases. It kind of feels like premium plastic, like hard plastic. Like, it's definitely aluminum. It's just not super heavy, which I don't mind it being heavy, but it just doesn't like feel like a nice premium case, but it's still better than plastic. And it has this these two aluminum badges on it, and then we have a more low profile case. You can kind of see the switches. This isn't a big deal, but it would be nice if it's just you can only see the keycaps like that, but it's whatever. It's not a big deal. In terms of the plate that comes in this case, it comes with an aluminum plate. It would have been nice to see an FR4 plate, but most companies still use aluminum, so it's fine. There is silicone dampening inside the case, which honestly makes the keyboard sound worse in my opinion. I did try to do some modding, and it wasn't that great, but there is an issue with this USB port. It is, as you can see, super deep, and the cable just fits. So I literally saw them tweet this out like an hour before I made this video. The reason for this is because they don't want you accidentally knocking out your cable while gaming. But my problem with this is I don't see that happening. I've used over 30 keyboards, and that's never happened to me where I'm gaming and I just knock out the cable. That's not a real issue. And like, you could say, but why does that matter if it's a real issue? Because the cable I was using, that I use on all my keyboards, doesn't fit in here, and a lot of other cables are not going to fit with this keyboard. So you're kind of forced to use their stock cable, which at the end of the day, that isn't a big deal, but it is a little bit annoying. If you spent money on a cable that's like a color you really like or something, then you can't use it, and it limits you for the future. If you wanted like a blue cable, you can't use that. It's not the biggest issue ever, but it would have been nice if it was a regular USB-C port, but whatever. Let's get on to the keycaps right here. I'm just going to pop one off. This is a PBT keycap. These are also relatively low quality keycaps. I don't think these are double shot. They don't sound great, and they're shine through as well, which the shine through doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people like it. I personally don't like it, and most people that are buying expensive boards like this don't like it, but it's not something I'm going to knock them on. If they want to use shine through, that's fine. I do think they should include an option where it's not shine through, and also use just higher quality double shot PBT keycaps. But these are cherry profile, so they're comfortable, they're decent. I just want to talk about the wrist rest for a second. I forgot to mention it. I haven't really used this, but it's a nice quality cushiony wrist rest. I think it's going to be fine for a few months. Eventually it might peel, but it's a nice thing to come with the keyboard, and it's decent quality. In terms of these stabilizers, I had to swap them out. They're terrible. They're not lubed very well, but they are lubed. They just sound bad. They feel bad. You're probably gonna want to swap them out. They are plate mounted, so they're easy to swap out. And then in terms of these switches, so we have Otemu. They're called Otemu sealed switches because they're closed bottom, which is great. So these are a sealed bottom switch, which means the leak won't lube. And I'm going to be honest, these are the best Otemu switches I've ever tried. This is not like a high bar, because I've hated every single Otemu switches I've tried, except these. Like, these are decent. They're just not the best. They don't sound great. Like, I'll have a sound test at the end. Like, they're decent. They're usable. They're fine. They're acceptable. They're just not great. They feel fine. They just still feel pretty cheap like their Otemu switches, but I'm not going to complain too much about these switches because at least they use close bottom. But there is an option to get Jade Pros with this keyboard, which I'm going to recommend you not do. Mine did come with the Otemu, but I did try it with Jade Pros, and because of the silicone dampening and just this cheap keyboard case, they just don't sound good in here. It's not worth paying the extra $40. You could probably get cheaper switches for like 20-30 in AliExpress. It'll sound the same and you save $10. But I wouldn't even bother with swapping switches in this keyboard. It is hot swap, but the sound profile is going to be terrible either way. Like the overall sound profile on this keyboard is not very good. I tried a tape mod. It didn't really help. It made the keyboard sound very plasticky. And I tried taking off the foam inside the plate, but one of the screws was like stripped, so I couldn't even get it out to go foamless. But overall, if sound's your thing, don't buy this keyboard. Like the stock sound is decent enough, but it's just not great for a keyboard at this price point. But the typing feel and in-gaming feel of the switches feels fine. I'm not going to complain about that. In terms of the software is completely terrible. It's the worst software I've ever used on a Hall Effect keyboard. You can't select multiple keys at once to set your actuation. Sorry, if you want to have your WASD at the same actuation, you have to do each of them individually unless you want to set every key like that. And I only like setting my rapid trigger on WASD, F, spacebar, and shift, sometimes like one or two other keys. So I have to do each individually, or I have to do the entire keyboard. I don't like that. The rebinding was relatively simple. You just have to configure everything. The RGB was a little finicky, but this is just not a good software. Like if you only have to use the software once and you're never gonna use it again, it's okay because you're only gonna use it once. But if you're changing your software more than once, even twice, like I would say don't bother. But let me just show you the RGB brightness. So I just have it set to this color right now, this blue, but this is the brightest it gets. It's fine. It's not insanely bright, but I think it's completely fine. You see it through the keycaps, but that's pretty much it on RGB. In terms of performance in game, so I have heard that this does beat the Wooting 88G, but I don't necessarily believe it because I've only heard it from some YouTubers that don't have great reputations that say every keyboard's the best. So I really want you to take this with a grain of salt. And it doesn't feel as good in terms of responsiveness as my Pulsar PCM K2, which has the same performance as the Wooting, but this keyboard does feel pretty responsive and the performance does feel pretty good. I just don't have the numbers, and I don't think it's actually as good as a Wooting. But like if I hear, I'll put an edit on this video or a pinned comment if I do find out if it is as good or if it's not. But I would assume this is a decent performing keyboard. It's just not, I just don't think it's anything top tier. In terms of pricing, this does come in at $140 for the version I have right here with the Otemu switches, or $180 with the Jade Pros. If you do use my code SPEC5, if you still decide to buy this keyboard, you will save $5 off, so it will be $134, and there is free shipping. So my overall thoughts is this keyboard is $135 with the free shipping. Is it worth it? So what I would say is probably not. There are so many better keyboards on the market. The iRock keyboard I checked out like 2 weeks ago. The MG68 Pro is significantly more premium. It has better switches. It has better feel. The performance might not be as good, might be the same, I don't know, but it's just a much more premium board at like only $80 shipped. So I just think there are so many better options than this on the market. If you do buy this, I think you'll have an okay enough experience with it. I just think you're not getting the $134, $135 experience that you should be. Like the case feels a tad premium, but it doesn't feel as premium as it should. And there's just some issues I have with this keyboard. But overall, I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm not going to say stay away from this keyboard. It's horrible. It's okay. And I'm sorry about another negative video on the channel. I don't like these videos being negative, but there's no way I can know with some of these keyboards if they're good or bad before I accept them. And I wanted to give an honest review. So that's pretty much it. I'll leave off with the sound test of both the Otemu and the Jade Pro switches, and I'll see you in the next one.